internet, welcome to Film Theory. It's I, your host, Dom. Well, honestly, for the past couple weeks, I wanted to make a comeback, but I wanted to do it right. So I've been racking my brain about what to review, what to watch, what to listen to, whatever, just any subject that I felt would be great. And I have all these candidates, but all of that had to be sidelined because today I finally went to go watch The Barbarian. Today was a premiere, I believe. And I've been seeing the ads for this everywhere. It's been marketed like crazy, so I was really hyped. I love Justin Long. Give me anything with Justin Long and I'll fucking love it, okay? And I went to go watch it with a close friend of mine. And I instantly knew halfway through that I had to come home and review it. This had to be the video. I'm going to start off with the rating because I need to get to this while it's still fresh in my mind. I need to break this down and take it apart and show you all the parts of it. This movie is a perfect 5 out of 10. If anybody asks you, what does a 5 out of 10 movie look like? Make them watch The Barbarian, because this movie felt so incomplete. That's not a jab at Justin Long. His acting was fucking phenomenal, okay? He killed it like he always does. Like, that's the whole reason I was so fucking happy to watch this. I was so hyped. I was like, yes! I grew up watching Jeepers Creepers and all these sorts of movies Justin Long was in. Like, he's everywhere. But, he's got range. The man has range. And I'm not gonna act like the rest of the cast didn't do good acting as well. The majority of the cast did pretty well acting, you know what I mean? They're not on his level, I personally believe, but they weren't bad at all. Except for the main villain of the movie. The main monster, the main villain of this movie, came off as unintentionally goofy. Like, I was just laughing throughout the entire movie. Because the monster really never felt like a threat. So I'll just break down the plot really fast and quick, rapid fire. So apparently, there's two people that end up booking the same Airbnb. And everything's going fine and dandy and whatever, until one of them, the guy named Keith, I believe his name was, ends up leaving. And the girl who's there, I think her name was Tess, she ends up discovering that there's a hidden room inside the Airbnb. So she discovers it, she starts looking around, and it looks like a sort of Silent Hill type thing. Like, if you've ever played Silent Hill 2, it's very much like those environments, very claustrophobic, tunnels, dark, lots of noises. The movie tries to play with you, that it's really hard to get into it. You know what I mean? The movie wants you to get into it because the pacing is rather slow. I thought they were going to build up to something, but that's the whole issue. The movie doesn't build up to anything. So anyways, she ends up getting trapped, and the guy Keith ends up coming back home, and he frees her, but he ends up trying to discover the tunnels and see what's inside. But at the end of the intro of the movie, he ends up getting killed by this monster lady that looks like something straight out of I Am Legend. No hate on the makeup department, but this was a big point for me. The monster just looked goofy, literally like the monsters from I Am Legend. I get what they were trying to go for, the whole angle of some inbred monster, but just the mannerisms and the characteristics of the main villain, who doesn't really have a name. She's just a child of incest. And it's just her mannerisms. She wasn't even scary. I didn't feel the real threat. I feel like, in fact, the characters themselves were a bigger threat to themselves than this monster was. Because if you actually watch the movie, the entire time the monster isn't trying to kill anybody. She's trying to have babies. The monster has baby fever, and it's just hilarious. It really takes you out of the film. Anyway, she ends up killing the main guy, Keith, and then we cut to Justin Long's character. Justin Long is dealing with a sexual allegation case. Boy, that's heavy stuff. But, all of that gets thrown away when you realize that, he ends up being the owner of the house because he has a lot of properties that he's going to have to liquidate to pay for a countersuit against the person who's making these false claims, which, if you watch the whole movie, it completely goes unresolved whether or not it was true or not. It's up in the air. Like, the entire time Justin Long is denying it, but towards the end of the movie, he's like, oh, he reflects and he's like, I'm not a bad person. I just made a mistake. Maybe I'm a good person who made a mistake. But then all that instantly thrown out the window with what happens immediately afterwards, which I'll get back to later. Just pinpoint that. Remember that in your head. So anyways, he goes to the house. He discovers the belongings of the people who rented the Airbnb. He freaks out. He calls a bunch of people and he's like, hey, are there anybody in my house? So he ends up finding the secret compartment. The movie's really, it's slow paced, but it happens so fast. I know it doesn't make sense, but you just have to, just bear with me. So anyways, he ends up discovering like that there's a whole secret giant tunnel system beneath his house, and he's trying to map it out to raise the property of the land, because that's pretty huge. It's part of the house and it's a giant underground tunnel. So anyways, he ends up discovering the same monster who killed Keith in the very beginning of the movie. So she chases him and he falls down some hole like an idiot, because he's just doesn't, these characters don't use very much common sense. And again, that's one major point I wanted to say. There's no real threat. It's just the characters are very stupid. So he ends up falling in this hole, and the monster, pulls a fucking Silence of the Lamb and tries to feed him fucking milk out of a hairy ass bottle. And it ends up that the Tess character is still alive there, and she understands that the monster is just trying to baby them, and she's like, okay, calm down, because if you freak out, she's gonna freak out. But as horror movie tropes go, he has to freak out. So the monster fucking drags him by the legs to this fucking weird nursery room where she starts making him suck on his tit. And again, I really have to stress this. The monster's motivations make absolutely no fucking sense whatsoever. I guess she's an inbred monster, but like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make any fucking sense why the monster's out for blood at the end of the day. It doesn't, because she wants a baby, but if you freak out about that, she just goes on a rampage, which isn't really that much of a rampage. Again, the gore in this movie, just everything is very watered down. Like, there were 3 kills total and 1 suicide. So the movie wasn't very scary. The tone was very silly. The atmosphere was great. The underground, I like the underground tunnel system. It can make you claustrophobic, but if you're a horror veteran, you're just very used to this, and you won't be afraid. It'll just look familiar, and you'll just be having a good time. I was having a good time. I was laughing, but I know that's not the intention of the movie. Anyway, so the girl Tess ends up escaping while Justin Long is being breastfed, and some homeless man takes her under and tells her, oh, he's the exposition in this movie, this homeless man, and he tells her, you do not want to go back in there, because that's not the worst thing that's in there. She's not the worst thing that's in there. Which, again, it feels like the movie was building up to something by saying this, because the old man is the exposition, but it leads absolutely nowhere. We're led to believe that there's other monsters or something lurking in there, but there's absolutely nothing lurking in there except for the old owner of the house, which this leads to the transition, again, exposition, to where it goes back to the Ronald Reagan era, and it shows you the owner of the house who was actually a serial rapist, because it shows you a flashback of him stalking some lady, and then he's setting up his next victim, basically, and then the shot ends with him going back home, and he opens the door where our main character is currently stuck in now, and it shows you, oh, he was a rapist. And later on in the movie, they end up explaining that, yeah, he was a rapist, and he ended up breeding with the women he raped, and then raping those children to make more children. So again, it's just the inbred, brain-dead trope. Again, it's very cookie cutter. I'm not gonna lie, the plot wasn't very strong. It was highly predictable. I knew what was gonna happen. As soon as I saw the monster, I knew automatically what the whole fucking thing was. It's like, oh, it's a rape then, is what it is. And this is one of the babies gone rogue. But when the old homeless man said that, Now, she's not the worst thing in there. I assumed there was going to be like a whole horde of monsters and shit, but no. It's just the one inbred baby, and the fucking rapist dude is still down there, but he ends up shooting himself in the head. So, you know, that's a good thing, you know what I mean? That's a good thing. Because Justin Long ends up seeing one of his tapes, his rape tapes. That's very catchy. It shouldn't be. I'm sorry about that. But that's very funny. But it doesn't show you anything at all. It just happens off screen. So, like I said, everything is very watered down. You know, the tone should be scary. I'm not saying I want an absolute gore fest, but you know, you gotta build up suspense. You gotta build up an atmosphere. You gotta give the viewer something to be threatened by, something to fear. But honestly, leaving the theater, everybody was just giggling and laughing at the movie and saying, man, that wasn't very good. And again, it has nothing to do with the actors. I think it was just mostly the writing. The direction, I don't think the direction was too awful, because again, I love the underground scenes, and you know, when this movie wanted to be serious, it could be serious, but the whole monster just threw everything out of disarray and just made the movie a goofy romp. It felt like a comedy more than anything. So, after she escapes, she goes back to save Justin Long. But you remember when I said the old man committed suicide? He ended up shooting himself with a revolver he had. So Justin Long takes that revolver, and you know, in a panic, he ends up shooting Tess in the fucking stomach. This is just again, these characters are a bigger threat to themselves than any monster will ever be. So they end up both escaping, and you know, the homeless man from earlier, he ends up giving them a safe house, basically. It's not a safe house, but a safe space, because the monster can escape the fucking house at night. So, you know, they're all talking, there's more exposition given. Justin Long's trying to fucking take Tess to the hospital, because again, he feels guilty for shooting her, and that's when he says the whole, oh, I'm not a bad person, I'm just a good person who did something wrong. And the old guy was like, no, stay here, it's safe. Nothing has ever happened in the 15 years. And you automatically know what that is. That's a foreshadow, because as soon as he said that, the monster runs in and fucking rips a dude's arm off and fucking beats him to death with it. That shit was the funniest thing I've seen, dude. Like, her saggy titties everywhere, her just beating him up with a fucking arm. That shit was too funny. So they end up running up like this water tower, because that's where the shelter is. You know, it's a homeless man. He doesn't have a fucking house or anything. The whole neighborhood has gone to shit for absolutely no reason. It never tells you why it went to shit. It just says, oh, it went to shit, and you're supposed to run with it. Because every other house is all burnt and broken apart, but that one house Justin Long owns is perfectly in mint condition. It's beautiful, except for what's in the tunnels. So, they end up running up this water tower, and you know, Justin Long is just a selfish fucking prick. Not the actor himself. I fucking love him. I just can't remember his name, you know? I'm just gonna call him Justin Long. The character, Justin Long, is a fucking dickhead. Besides feeling guilty for shooting Tess, he doesn't help her at all. He just lets her struggle while the monster's chasing them up this fucking water tower. Once they get up to the water tower, he looks at her and he says, well, we can't both survive. I can survive, but you're gonna have to slow her down. So what he does is he literally fucking grabs Tess and he throws her off the water tower, and he tells the monster, hey, go get your baby. And you know, for some fucking reason, the monster dolphin dives off the fucking water tower to save her. Which again, just doesn't make sense. The monster's motivation don't make sense. Like, are you gonna kill him? Or are you gonna go, like, why are you chasing them if you just want babies? You know what I mean? And I'm supposed to believe that, oh, she's inbred, just go with it. I don't like that very much. But anyways, the monster dolphin dives after him, and you know, they're both on the ground bleeding. Justin Long goes all the way down, picks up his gun, and then fucking he ends up checking on them, and the girl's still alive, Tess, because the monster, you know, guarded her fall with her body. And he's like, oh, are you okay? Are you okay? I'm so sorry about that. You understand, though, why I had to do it, right? I had no time to think. He was just making excuses, and his character, you know, doesn't develop anything. He's just unlikable. It's really hard to sympathize with his character because he's just a selfish dick the entire movie. It makes you really wonder, were those sexual allegations true? And especially with the parallels that they're drawing to the rapist who actually owns the house. It's like, I feel like they wanted to do something there, but it never paid off because he's instantly killed by the monster, who just comes back to life despite surviving fucking falling off a water tower and landing on her head, which is obviously bleeding. There's a fucking pool of blood right next to her. But she ends up killing him, and then she goes up to Tess and she's like, my baby, come back, baby, come back. And Tess is like, oh, I can't go back. And she does what should have been done fucking halfway through the movie. She shoots the monster in the fucking face and she dies. And that's the end of the movie. And I literally fucking said to my friend, that's it? It literally felt like half a movie. There was so much build up, so much slow pacing. You would think it would lead up to like at least the very least a sequel. But no. It just felt so incomplete. There were so many plot holes. Motivations of the characters didn't make any fucking sense. And there was no character development whatsoever. Every single character felt one note. And I'm not going to blame it on the actors. It's not their acting ability that's in question. Except for the monster. The monster was just fucking goofy. I don't know if that was the direction they made her go, or if that was just unintentional, but the monster was goofy the entire fucking movie. It just felt like the I Am Legend monsters fucking had baby fever. That's it. You know, even the scary makeup wasn't enough to really put me in fear. I was just laughing at her the entire time and her saggy titties. So yeah, there was no character development. There was no plot development. It felt like half a movie. It felt like half a movie. It felt incomplete. There's no resolution. That's what it is. There is no resolution for all the plot points in the movie. It just felt like, oh, all of this shit just kind of happened and that's it. The end. You know what I mean? Tess lives happily ever after. It's like, you never figure out if the cops went there and figured out, found out the truth about Justin Long and the rapist guy. You don't even know if the monster has to come back to life or not, because it doesn't make sense. During the movie, she gets run over by a fucking car, thrown off a water tower, but then one shot to the fucking face kills her. That is so inconsistent. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, how is it that you're fucking able to rip a dude's arm off, but somebody shoots you in the fucking face and you die instantly? Like, I'm sorry, what? That doesn't make any sense. And I wasn't about to sit in the fucking movie theater and wait for a post-credit scene, because I don't think there's any way to salvage this movie. Again, 100%, I love you, Justin Long. If you're watching this, you're probably not. I'm not gonna fucking delude myself into thinking you are, or you ever will watch this. But this movie was bad. It was a perfect 5 out of 10. I love watching bad movies. So will I watch this one again? Hell yes. I will fucking watch it again and I will laugh. I will have a great fucking time. If you want to laugh, go ahead and watch this. But if you're actually looking to be scared, you will never be scared. You will be giggling the entire fucking time. This movie was just silly. Silly, predictable, and full of plot holes. Nothing ever got resolved, and there's no character evolution whatsoever. There was no character development. Everything just felt like it was left up in the air. It felt like there should have been more, but there wasn't. It's not that it was rushed. The pacing was fucking slow. That's kind of what you want in a movie. Especially a horror movie. Like the first Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, that first one was paced pretty fucking slow. But it ended up paying off. Because, it was brutal. There was something to fear. The atmosphere was terrifying. And, Freddy had some fucking sinister motivations. Whereas this movie, inbred baby is evil because inbred baby. And, yeah, it felt like fucking Bubba from Chainsaw Massacre had, like, a sister who was just really fucking lame. So, if this video leaves anything to desire, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? I don't have any clips because, the movie just came out. And I know I feel like it rushed through the plot, but that's really what it felt like. You know what I mean? It felt like there really was no plot. It was just kill people to kill people, and that's it. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope, you don't end up going to the movie theater expecting something that you're not going to get and being disappointed that you wasted your money. I hope that if you do want to watch it, you go in with the mentality that this movie's going to be funny. This movie's going to be funny as shit. So if you like bad movies, I highly recommend watching The Barbarian. Oh, it's not called The Barbarian, it's just called Barbarian. Which, I guess because of the rapist, you know what I mean? I guess that's why it's called. I don't know. It's never really made clear. They don't have a Suicide Squad moment where they're like, so this is it, huh? We're really the Suicide Squad. That'd be funny. Jess Long was like, oh my god, you're a barbarian. But no. Like, it's just one wet fart of a movie. Was I disappointed? Fuck no. I had a great time. I was laughing. But, you know, it's exactly what I expected, I suppose. It was very predictable. Didn't even run on long. It doesn't run on long. It feels like an edgy YouTube video is really what it feels like. I don't know. But, you know, hopefully you go watch it. You enjoy it. If you see it for what it is. You know? This has been Dom. And until next time, that's just a theory. A film theory. Thanks for watching. Matpat, if you sue me, I don't have money. I'm broke. You will get nothing.